I can freely say that I'm lucky in life because I have many friends. But I can barely think of one who doesn't play any video games. And I can also barely think of one who plays video games and doesn't have a problem at home with their parents because of it. If there were no video games, we'd probably come home from school, go outside to the yard, have fun, and play football with our friends like your parents used to. They always mentioned that that was real friendship. If there were no video, but there's another side to our parents' childhood, the dark 90s, street fights, violence, kids running around with guns. It is interesting to think about that if there was electricity and video games, with all this aggression that kids had, it manifested in the video games instead of the real world. Would there be so much aggression on the street? If there's a good book written by a great writer who teaches us something moral, improves our taste and behavior, and at the same time, there's another book, a bad book, devoid of context, which you should not spend your time reading, why can't we look at video games the same way? I think the main problem with video games is addiction, because a game can cause such attraction that you forget what color the sky is. You don't go outside and notice the diversity of the world, the beauty of sunrises and sunsets. When a game-prone person stops playing a game that transports him to another beautiful world, virtual, not real, isn't it dangerous that he gets attached to something more dangerous, harmful, and real with the same success? Because after all, attachment is in human nature. Morality, kindness, loyalty, respect, consistency, and hard work can be taught through video games. And sometimes they even give you motivation. I can't help but mention a game called Elden Ring, which has some beautiful artwork, interesting music, and sophisticated architecture. But there's also a tree there, which the artist took inspiration from a manga called Berserk. And the creator of this manga took inspiration from a Hieronymus Bosch painting. A beautiful game always draws you in deeply, interested in the characters, the author of music, and doing research. The wonderful game Ghost of Tsushima tells you about Japan, the code of ethics, and explores it in depth. Such as beautiful films by great directors affect you with wonderful scenes and views, a game affects you in the same way, but this time you are a part of this world. If before bedtime, parents read to their children the mythology of different countries that tell stories of ancient gods and heroes, you think about why such smart Greek philosophers believed in Zeus. Then you realize that exactly imagination develops the mind. And the same can be said for those video games. The imagination that is conveyed in the games will develop the mind. Interesting music develops your taste. Decisions made shape you as a person. But, of course, there are some games where nothing like this happens. There is a game called God of War, which has breathtaking graphics, and is based on a mythological story. But that's not the main thing. The most interesting part about this game is the connection between father and son. Apart from this, you can come across some Greek painted pottery. When a game attracts you, you will delve into this detailing, find out more about Greek ceramics. If we observe this, we will be convinced that we are getting educated by playing without even realizing it. Despite that, parents are always whining about how video games are making their children violent. But none of them ever thought about sitting down and playing one for themselves, because some of them, as I said before, actually teach you stuff that might come in handy later in life, like Assassin's Creed, which is a very detailed model of Notre Dame de Paris in it. It's so detailed that none of the documentary films cover this building in this much detail. In conclusion, the prospect of a world without video games elicits some mixed reactions. While some imagine a more physically active and socially engaged society, others highlight the cultural and educational benefits of gaming and the diverse contributions each make to our lives. Thank you.